Well, hello, people. I'm here with Jason, good friend of mine. Jason, you want to tell them a little bit about yourself?
Yeah, I'm Jason Hackenworth. I'm an artist living in St. Petersburg, Florida. I've been making art now for 25 years. Met Fred a few years ago through Creative Pinellas, and now we are both Creative Pinellas professional grantees, which is very nice.
Nice. Yeah. So what inspires you?
What inspires me? Geez, Fred. Everything. The answer to that's a good question. And I think inspiration comes from all over.
Right.
Sometimes it could just be something that I see in a movie. There's a line in a movie that sparks something, or it could be a line in a song. There's a song by Leonard Cohen's music is very poetic, and I'll listen to that a lot of times. I do a lot of written words and phrases and prose in my paintings, and often I cover those over. But I first start writing that to kind of create what the dialogue will be in those paintings. See,
right.
And there's a song by Leonard Cohen, and the phrase is, "There's a crack in everything, and that's how the light gets in." And I love that phrase. I've sort of stolen it and made it my own in some ways. But I might be inspired, just by an amazing plant that I see here in Florida. So we get some amazing botanicals, or it might be, just literally anything. And also I get outraged often, especially now. There's so much just nonsense, all this crazy inequity all over, and it seems to be spewing hate from the right all the time, and it really gets it sort of gets in my head. And so a lot of times the dialogue that I lay down on the canvases to begin with is really sort of chaotic and full of angst and frustration.
Right.
And then the process, my process then is to work past that and to try to resolve some of that for myself. And there's a catharsis that happens. And the paintings move from all of that pain into a kind of an acceptance, and then there's the surrender, and then becomes the joy. And there's still that bittersweet sort of frustration in those works, but there's something also that we can all recognize as, this is reality, and this is how we deal with it, and we can find peace and joy in that.
Right.
So that's a long answer, Fred. Sorry about
that. No, not at all. So basically what you're saying is like, you take that what's troubling you, and you get it out and you put it on canvas.
Indeed.
And then you allow people to interpret the way that they want to interpret. But you are not keeping that. You put it on canvas.
That's absolutely right.
Yeah. So so this brings you peace.
It does. And in the process of working through it and covering it, like here's a painting over here that says lies, lies, lies. I'm gonna cover that over. And those lies are still there.
Right.
But I'm gonna find a way to work past that.
Right.
And not keep that pain, but instead find a way to heal that.
Right.
Through making that painting.
Right. So this is like your spiritual side coming through your artwork. Absolutely.
My artwork has always been a spiritual practice for me. In fact, I'm sure that making art, I at a certain point, probably 20 years ago, I realized that my artistic practice was my spiritual practice, and I started becoming much more deeply spiritual through the practice of my work, and realized so much more just about reality and about who I truly am, and all of the things that I am not, just through the revelations that come with the work that I do.
Nice. So what are you working on now?
Thanks. Yeah, a lot of stuff. I just got a contact from a gallery that's in South Korea.
Nice.
They wanted to show my work in the Busan Art Fair in South Korea, which is it's a big fair, and it's a very expensive city. The people there are very rich, and they're confident that they're going to sell a lot of work. So they just had me ship 25 paintings
Awesome.
to South Korea, and they paid the shipping, which was very expensive. So we built a crate, shipped the paintings, and then I realized that's half of my inventory. That's half of the paintings that I even have. So
That's a good problem.
Yes, it is. So now I am cranking out work feverishly and trying to ride that wave of excitement, you know? And so I'm taking all of the energy and excitement from the people that want the work, and I've sold some paintings lately. It feels very exciting. And now I'm taking all of the things that I'm upset about that I see all over the media and, all that unconscious behavior out there.
Right.
And I'm bringing my excitement to it, and I'm going to dissolve all of that with this body of work. I'm going to make 50 paintings between now and probably, July, September. I'm going to have a show. I'm going to have that show in Korea, and then I'm going to have enough work to have a show in Sarasota. I've got a show coming up out at Creative Pinellas, and I've just been contacted by a number of other galleries that are interested in my work. So it's a very exciting time for me to be making these paintings, because they're new for me.
Right.
I've been making sculpture for the last 20 years and transitioned to making paintings just in 2019. So it's only been a few years, but it seems like it's going to catch on, I think. And so maybe I can actually make a living selling paintings. We'll see.
Right? That is the goal.
Yeah, we'll see.
You want to talk a little bit about the painting behind you?
Well, right now it's just underpainting. So we were talking about, what happens with them, and I just lay down this dialogue. So I just start with some drawing, and then after the drawing, I splash some color on, and then I respond to the color with some black paint. And it's not always these exact steps, but I'm just working through it, and then next is going to come a whole bunch more, paint that goes on it, and I don't always know what's going to be the last thing that happens until after it happens. But I try to work toward final steps. Right. So I know that what I'm doing on this next isn't anywhere near being done.
Nice.
And so I'm not going to be in a hurry to say it's finished. I'm not going to be in a hurry to try to get it finished.
Right.
I've got so many paintings going on at the same time. I'll lay down some wet paint on that, and I'll just get it out of the way. And I'll do the same thing to another one and another one and another. Yeah. And then there comes a few days, a few weeks, down the road a bit, when all of a sudden, I've laid down that color so many times, and they've built up, and they're, getting all, sort of crazy. And then one big field of something with a line, and that line might be that wet pigment stick that stays wet for a very long time. Yeah. So I try to wait and use it closer to the end steps. And then once I've done that, sometimes then they're unlocked and they're done.
Nice.
And then I just put them away for a few weeks until they dry, and then I come back and look. And I can look at them in photographs and see the progress better, because the studio is small. It's hard to really get away from them and look.
Right.
But in a little picture, you can really see where it works and where it doesn't.
Right.
And so these are just the underpaintings. These are just the first steps. This is still the frustration. This is still the, working through the
purging.
Yeah. And so that's where these are right now. And there's a bunch of them like that. But then I have little ones up here that are in various states. And so, and so it's a matter of just trying to find all of those little pieces and not think too much about what I need to do, but just mix up the colors I want to use today and just slap them down.
Right.
And then don't think, just get them out of the way. Don't try to fix them. Don't try to make them good or make them perfect, because that doesn't exist. Just do what you do and then move on.
Yeah.
That's
being in a place of allowing the flow to come through, that energy.
That's exactly right.
And put it on canvas.
Most people don't know that, I think. I think a lot of people don't know that.
True.
Be in that place of allowing.
Yeah.
Be in the place of allowing.
Yeah.
It's brilliant.
Yeah. So this is a question I get asked a lot, is when do you know it's finished? I get that question a lot. When
do I know it's finished? Well, I don't always. Sometimes I'll get to a point where I feel like it's just a mess and it doesn't work, and I think it's not good. I'll take a picture, put it away, try not to think about it, but I think I know I got to go back later and fix it. But then a couple weeks later, I'll look at that picture I was like, what am I, crazy? This is perfect. This is great. But I couldn't see it at that time.
Right.
You know, I was still too close to it. Still too, maybe I was hung up on expectation. I don't know.
Right.
There are other times then something will happen and I'll feel like, amazing, it's perfect. And then I'll put it away and then I'll look at it a few weeks later and be like, this is terrible. So I don't always know. But somehow they seem to make their way.
Yeah. Do you find that your artwork speaks to you when you're working on it?
And sometimes it sings. Yeah.
I love that.
Yeah.
That's awesome. Awesome. Yeah, I find, when I'm working on stuff, I don't use it a lot of time. I don't hear it until after I think I'm done, and I step back and I'm like, wow, you're saying something. I love the message that you're saying. You know what I mean? And a lot of times it's not the message. When I started out painting, it's a totally different message.
Yeah.
Yeah, you find that
Absolutely.
happens a lot with your work.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. I thought it was going somewhere, and then later I look at it and it went somewhere else. Totally.
That's awesome. That's awesome. That means that you are in a place of allowing, to filter in, that beautiful.
We got a bug player.
He wants to be on the
It's
camera.
this big moment.
It's me.
How do you choose the titles for your work?
That's a good question because for me, I'm actually really bad about choosing titles for my work. And back home, I used to have, when I lived in Gainesville, I used to have a friend of mine, and she would name my artwork for me.
That's nice.
Yeah, And I've also recycled names of titles. I'll sell a piece, and I like that name a lot, and I said, well, I'm going to put it on this piece.
Yeah.
And then...
Is that okay to use the same title on more than one painting?
I don't know.
Motherwell named hundreds of paintings, Elegy to the Spanish Republic. Mm-hmm. And sometimes he put a number at the end or different numbers because there were different ones, but they were all very similar paintings.
Right.
And they were all Elegy to the Spanish Republic. So, You know what I did recently? I wrote a list for the last few weeks. I knew I was getting ready to start this body of work, and I knew I was going to try to make a 50 painting body of work.
Right.
I started making a list, and I told my wife, I said, if you think of names for paintings, tell me, and I'm going to put them on a list and just keep compiling it. I'm going to watch a TV show, and I hear something, or I read something, and I write it down. So I've been writing a list of all these titles, and now I have a big list, maybe 50 or 60 titles on there. And now as I'm making the paintings, the titles are coming at, because I have them saved, and I look through them every night. I'm looking at these titles, and I'm working on a painting, and I feel like, oh, this is the painting of that title. It's almost like the titles that I chose are calling those paintings into being. It's like the word brought the event.
I like that.
It's really interesting. I've never worked that way before.
I'm going to steal that.
And go, please. And I just recently did a painting called Backslap Brothers. Now, I had the title already made, Backslap Brothers. But in my mind, it was a sexy painting about two guys having sex.
Right.
And I thought that would be really fun to have this sexy, gay sex, male sex painting. But then it turned out that when I finished the painting, and I was like, this is Backslap Brothers. But it wasn't that at all. Instead, it was these sort of KKK figures that were these horrible figures and a mountain of money. And it ends up being about the Koch brothers, who are the funders of everything far right and hateful. And so they became the Backslap Brothers. It wasn't about gay sex at all, but then again, maybe it is. Maybe it's both. Maybe it's all of that stuff. But like you said before, you think a painting's going one way and it goes a whole other way. I thought that title was going to be about one thing, but it ended up being about another. Now if people don't see this, they won't know what that painting is about, and so they can make that painting about whatever they want.
Right, and that's the beauty of it.
Right. So, but that's interesting though that that the title brings the painting out. I started thinking about this title. Now I have an idea of what I want to do to, contour this work to fit that sort of thought.
Yeah, that's awesome. I usually I'll send the picture of the painting to some of my friends, and I said, "What do you think I should call it?"
Yeah.
And they come up with names.
Yeah.
But I am totally gonna steal that. I have created some work now based on something I felt or heard You know, I mean the story. You know what I mean. And the whole thing, you know, like I'm all about the healing art combining art and healing. And so that's kind of where my work is leading.
Yeah.
You know, self expression, self love.
Yeah. I think that that is critical in art. Is, you know, the whole point of making the art is that, you know, there's this something deep inside of you that wants to come out,
Right.
and oftentimes there's a way of reconciling something that is disconnected in us through that process.
Right.
And so I think that you're certainly on that path. It sounds like, and you know, when I look at the work, I see some really painful stuff in there, but I also see, you know, your resolve and your, you know, acceptance of where you are in the world. You know, regardless of what is, you've allowed that to just be. I see that. I think that's really powerful.
Yeah, I think your work is very powerful too. You know, I mean, I love looking at your progress.
Hey.
And,
Excuse me. It's time to get that stuff out of that little oven and eat it because I'm going to mop the floor. You can't come in when the floor's wet.
Okay, well, we'll do it in a little bit. Okay.
Not a
Thanks.
little bit. I'm going to mop the floor.
Okay, well, when you're done mopping the floor, thank
No,
you.
then it'll be wet.
Well, later when it's dry. Thank you. It's my mom.
It's Jason's mom. I brought over a quiche. It's 6 cheeses, but it wasn't quite done. So now we just haven't, you know.
Well, 6 cheeses might take a while to
No,
cook.
it's done.
Yeah.
It's,
But I mean, when it gets hot, won't all that cheese just get wet and gooey?
right. It's probably done, and we're just overcooking it.
I don't know. Well, you want me to run in there and get it? Let's go look, I guess. You want me to hit
All right.
pause?
Well, we could just well, thank you. You know, I mean, unless you have something else you want to say.
No, I want to say thanks, Frederick. Thank you. It's an honor to have you at the studio. I really appreciate the studio visit, and I appreciate your thoughtful questions.
Yeah.
And I hope this will work out. I hope all of you guys check it out and glean something, you know, inspiring from it.
Yeah, and tell them where you can see your artwork.
Wherever you want. No, you can check it out on Instagram. You can check out my work on Instagram at Hackenwerth, HACKENWERTH. And be sure to come out to Creative Pinellas and see the show that I'm going to put on. Opens January 21st. The show is titled Dark Matter. Dark Matter is you know, sort of a double meaning. You know, dark matter is this interesting force that the physicists don't exactly know what it is, but they know that it exists, and they know that it makes up the majority of the universe and everything around us. They know it outweighs physical matter 6-1. And also, you know, I think that it has very interesting spiritual implications. And so my show deals with the spiritual implications of this concept of dark matter and the reality of dark matter. And also it uses the title Dark Matter to address a lot of the social inequities that we were talking about coming out in my work. And so it's a way of trying to reconcile the two. And in the face of this, you know, this spiritual implication of dark matter and this supreme force that's all around us, I think that it speaks to the absurdity of our petty differences and the bickering and the constant, you know, upset that we're seeing everywhere. Because after all, how silly is all of that? We're all one, right?
It's also too, you know, sound like, you know, people who are working through soul contracts and dark. That's what I want to use. Shadow work. You know, when we hide our gifts and who we truly are in the shadows. So it sounds like your work is based a lot on that too. You know, what we're hiding from ourselves.
Yeah, there's a lot of delusion in our society right now.
Yeah.
We have to bring the light of awareness to that so that we
Love
can
it.
truly know who we are.
I
That
love
was the Temple of Delphi. You know, the people in ancient Greece would go see, you know, the oracle who
Right.
resided in the Temple of Delphi, and before they went in at the entrance to the temple of Apollo, it's written in the above the doorway, before you enter, know thyself. Know thyself, which, you know, if you don't know who you truly are, then no matter what the oracle tells you, it will be meaningless.
Right.
You know, you cannot change your external reality without first changing your conscious awareness.
I love that. Love that. Dude, that's awesome.
All right, man.
So thank you. And see y'all later.
Thanks, Fred.
That was awesome.